you say that. So if they shake your hand, come in.
Good morning.
Morning.
Omar Nasser with Citrix. Pleasure meeting you. Ni hao. Do you mind if I take a seat?
No, go ahead.
Thank you so much. You must be Tim.
I am
Pleasure
Tim.
meeting you. I don't think we've had the pleasure of meeting before. Your name?
This is Shin Yu.
Shin Yu. Such a pleasure meeting you.
So she understands English.
Okay.
But she doesn't speak English.
Okay.
So I will operate a little bit like a translator.
Sure thing.
I do understand Chinese.
Oh, amazing.
So as we go through, if she has any questions, she'll just relay them through me, and we'll go from there.
All right. Sounds amazing. How did you learn Chinese, by the way?
I go back and forth a lot,
Back and
so
forth?
I knew I was going to be there, and I deal with the Chinese leadership team.
Nice.
And because of that, I've learned to understand it. I speak a little, so we
Okay.
operate very well as a team.
Okay, very well. Well, thank you for joining in today's meeting. I'm very excited to show you exactly how we're going to be able to help. Now, I do have a business card for you.
What's that? Oh, I know. So Kyle and Bree, they talked about it, that, he was going to be a little inexperienced, but they were really excited about what he had to say. So I think we'll be okay.
Is that a concern for you?
Not right now. I mean, for her it was, and I just didn't brief her on the conversations that you had with Kyle
Sure.
and Bree, and they were both happy with the outcome. That's why you're sitting here today.
So is it a concern about my age or my work experience?
Neither right now.
Neither?
So
Okay.
we're good there. We want to hear what you have to say about
Sure thing.
how you're going to solve our problems.
All right. Well, before I begin, I'd like to give you a business card. That's one for you. This is one for you.
Omar.
Thank you. Do you guys have a business card for me?
We'll reach out to you through email. Usually we'll go through our admins, or we'll have either Bray or Kyle reach out to you.
Okay. Well, when I last spoke with Brian, he mentioned we had about 20 minutes for today's meeting. Is that still holding true for today?
That is true.
Okay. And the purpose of today's meeting is to discuss exactly how Citrix Zen Desktop is going to help with the overall operations of not only Aerotech, but Allegis and the Chinese operations going on in Beijing.
Okay.
Is there anything else we'd like to add to that?
I think that's a great start. We may add along the way.
Okay. Well, then can we agree that the goal for today's meeting is to increase the efficiency moving forward, as well as the revenue and the cost-saving benefits that Citrix can provide?
And solve some of our problems.
Exactly right. Okay. Now, do you mind if I take some notes?
That'd be fine.
Now, when I last spoke with Bry, he mentioned that some of the main concerns moving forward with this Chinese expansion were the accessibility moving forward. He mentioned that there were many one of the cities was going to be Mongolia, and that we're working on some Chinese farms. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And he mentioned there was going to be solar panels, and because of that, because of the remote locations, we would be dealing with very limited access connectivity. Is that about
That's
right?
also correct.
Okay. He also mentioned that he wanted zero interruptions with the way we would operate our projects in Beijing moving forward, and mentioned that he did not want there to be any loss of connectivity so the employees could continue to do their work no matter where they are. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And last but not least, he mentioned that there was a concern about the devices that they would be using, because repurposing computers and having to switch to new computers could be a very costly option. Is that correct?
That is, in our discussions, there's a different way that they handle business in China versus the U.S.
Okay. And so, with that said, moving forward, I would definitely like to make sure. Are there any things that I might have missed in that with those needs that Brian might have told me?
Let me just think about our Chinese business. Are there any things that you're concerned with that have come up since we reviewed everything?
三十张网
Okay. So we do have, as you can imagine, her team is going to be a mix of some of the U.S., but we're also going to have Chinese nationals with the Aerotech team in China.
That's amazing.
So one of the other hurdles that we have is we're going to need a way to deliver applications in Chinese.
Make sure we deliver applications in Chinese.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Let me just write that. That seems like it's really important to you. So deliver applications in Chinese. And when we say that, we mean the way that they're going to be able to use the Citrix Zen Desktop moving forward in their daily operations, correct?
Yes, but they're going to have to be, all of the language is going to have to be Chinese, right? Because they're not going to be able to use English kind of scripted out. What we use at Aerotech here in the U.S., those applications need to be translated or delivered in Chinese.
Well, one of the many benefits of Citrix is that we have corporate partners all around the world. Specifically, we're partnered with 7 of the Fortune 100 companies in China. And we're hoping that Aerotech and Allegis can be our lucky number 8 moving forward in this Chinese operations.
Okay.
So that being said, we do have all of our applications in any language. So Chinese, Mandarin, any other language will not be an issue for your employees moving forward in this operation.
Okay. So how are we going to know who gets delivered what application? How is that going to work?
And so, if I'm understanding your concern correctly, you're more concerned about how your employees are going to be viewing their information and what accessibility they're getting, correct?
Correct.
Well, one of the many benefits of Citrix is that we provide the granular control to your IT department. So they're going to be able to dictate exactly who gets what kind of access. So a regular employee is not going to get the same level of access as a C-level employee or the project manager in China. They're going to be able to make sure that we're giving the right levels of authorization for whoever needs it.
Perfect.
Does that clarify that concern for you?
It does.
All right. So just to recap the needs that we've discovered so far, we mentioned accessibility is a major concern for you because we are dealing in many remote locations in China. We also mentioned that repurposing computers can be very costly, and in this moving forward, we want to make sure we're not only increasing your revenue, but we're bringing back those cost-saving benefits. We also want to make sure there are 0 interruptions. In this cutthroat industry of staffing, we want to make sure that when you're dealing with these employees, it's the first to win. The first to come in is the first one that wins. And we want to make sure that you're getting as many clients as you can to remain number 1. Because Aerotech was recently listed as the best of staffing agency, and we want to make sure you maintain that title of eliteness and authority over the market. Would you agree?
I agree. You agree?
Sure.
Now, last but not least, we mentioned that you want applications in Chinese so that your employees in China are able to operate at all levels of efficiency without any setback in the way they operate. Is that about right?
That's correct.
Is there anything I might have missed in all of that?
So far we're on track.
All right. Well, I have some great news for you guys today. And the good news is I'm not only going to tell you, but I'm going to show you how we're going to bring back all this money-saving opportunities and increase your productivity moving forward so we can expand in China and make sure that you're increasing your reach around the world. Sounds like a good idea?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to show you exactly what Zen Desktop can do.
Okay.
All right. Now, Citrix Zen Desktop is a virtual desktop infrastructure. Are you familiar with that term?
I am. I've been briefed by my team.
Okay.
They've shown me some of the demos that you gave to them.
Okay.
So we reviewed it, and so we have their idea, but I'd like to hear it from you as well.
I'd definitely love to explain it once again. And so the way Citrix works is we've been the market leader for the past 25 years. And we actually created the virtual desktop infrastructure industry. And what this means for you, the benefits of this moving forward, is that you're working with the leaders in the industry. Just like Aerotech is a leader in their industry, Citrix is a leader in our industry. And we provide companies all around the world. We're actually located in the 100% of the Fortune 100 companies and 99% of the Fortune Global 500 companies. And what this means moving forward to you is that we have experience in all the countries around the world. So this is not gonna be a new project for us. We already have experience in that area.
Okay.
Now, as I mentioned previously, we are located in 7 of the Fortune 100 companies. We're also located with your sister company, Tech Systems, and we're also in a couple other competitors such as Cavalier, which is another staffing agency. And as I mentioned before, we're hoping that China can be our lucky number 8 moving forward.
Okay.
Now, when you think about virtual desktop infrastructure, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Complex.
Complex. And anything else that comes to mind?
Expensive.
How about for Shin? What comes to mind for Shin when you think about complex, or when you think about a virtual desktop infrastructure?
Nothing.
Okay. So you mentioned complexity, and that is a very valid concern. Many of my previous customers when they hear this, they think it's something completely difficult. But it's just our really fancy way of saying we allow you to work from anywhere, at any time, on any device, securely, which is one of Bry's main concerns, was the security aspect of it. And basically what this allows you to do is it allows you to have 0 interruptions. Bry, when I met with him, he mentioned that China was working on a tablet workforce and that many of the employees have smartphones. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
It's a lot different than what we do here. And they're almost exclusively tablets, and the smartphone is a major tool.
Is a major tool. Okay. So moving forward, most of our clients actually use Citrix and desktop on their smartphones and tablets. Laptops are becoming a thing of the past, and because of that, we believe that you shouldn't have to worry about spending $40,000 repurposing old computers, and you can use that money to expand your project while using the devices you already have in your pockets and in front of you. Now, I've brought with me an iPad and a smartphone. Which would you like to see the demonstration on?
Whichever is quicker, probably the iPad.
Sure thing.
So let me back you up a little bit.
Go right ahead.
So the $40,000 number, is that, are you saying you can, we won't have to replace the laptops that are on schedule, on my teams, that they've sent me budget to, request $40,000 for some laptop replacements this quarter?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, your main concern is that you want to make sure that the $40,000 doesn't have to be spent towards allocating to a computer. It could be allocated to a different resource, correct?
I can't do both.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I can't replace laptops and implement Citrix at the same time.
Sure.
I'm not going to have the budget to do that.
Right. Well, one of the actually benefits is instead of $40,000 as a more conservative number, for an industry of your size, it actually comes out to about $100,000 every year by not switching over. And because you can work on any device, you don't have to limit yourself to upgrading those computers every year. You can just use the devices you already have in your pockets. And most of us already have a smartphone, and they can operate everything from their smartphone. If they have a tablet, even better. But you don't have to worry about repurposing those old computers.
Okay.
Does that clarify that concern for you?
That does clarify that.
Okay. Now I'd like to show you the demonstration if I can, Shin. Alright. So with an iPad, the regular way you would just go in, if you look at our applications here, the same way you would download Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, any application, you can download our Citrix Receiver app. Now the way I like to explain Citrix is through a Netflix analogy. Now when you log into Netflix, are you familiar with Netflix?
Yes.
So when you log into Netflix, you're able to tap into a server. You're pulling those movies onto your device. Now the movies are never fully downloaded, you're just accessing them and streaming them. Now Citrix works the same way, except replace your movies with the content and the applications from work. Does that sort of make sense?
It does.
It does. Okay, great. So the way our application works is, if you feel free, just tap the Citrix Receiver app, please. This app right there. Thank you. And this is what our user interface looks like. Would you agree that's pretty simple to understand?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Chinese employees would be happy with a system this simple to look at?
Yes.
Okay.
They're technical.
Now the step 2 is going to be to press that application in the middle. Do me a favor and can you tap on that for me, please? Thank you so much. And what we're starting here is the boot up phase. Now, it's my understanding that China has multiple layers of security. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Great. And one of the things about Citrix is we believe that you should be operating your business without any security distractions or implications or limitations. We want to remove those shackles and those chains of those days where you're tired and worried about security, and we're going to handle that stress for you. And so because of that, we implement two-step verification. Are you familiar with that term?
I am. I've seen it in China.
You've seen it in China.
And my team reports back that it's probably something we should do.
Yeah. And because of that, we've taken that feedback from many of our Chinese employees over there in China, and we've implemented two-step verification. And you can use this in the form of a fingerprint, a facial scan, or an extra password if you so choose. It's up to your choosing.
Okay.
Now, this is what our user interface would look like. Would you agree that's exactly what your computer at work looks like? The same icons as well?
Yeah, if there's icons on there,
Right.
I don't see it.
They're right there. Sorry about that.
So Omar, if we're going to use a tablet and then I have my phone, we've come out of 5 years ago where all of our salespeople had two phones. They had a corporate phone and they had a personal phone. Are we going to require that as well, that they have to have a corporate phone to have their Citrix stuff on there and a corporate tablet? Because they're going to have their personal stuff. You're going to have your pictures and your Gmail and all of that. And how are we going to handle that?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, your concern is that you want to make sure that your employees' personal information isn't being mixed with their information being transferred over from your daily operations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, well that is another very valid concern. Now, one of the things we pride ourselves in Citrix is that we allow you to separate the two while still being able to work on one device. So whether you start on a laptop and you switch over to a tablet, or you start on a tablet and switch to an iPhone or an Android, whatever device you want to use, there's going to be zero interruptions in your day. Now, the only way that your operations get tracked is through the Citrix application itself. So only when you're in the application can the information, your IT department see what's going on, and none of your personal information will be fully integrated into Citrix at all. It's all going to be personal and left to your security because that's exactly what we pride ourselves on. It's privacy and security. Does that alleviate that concern for you?
It does alleviate that concern.
Great.
So I guess the next steps are, tell me what Citrix is going to do for us. What are we going to do? What does it look like? And so when I go to the board and we go to the team in China, what are we going to tell them the solution is, and what's your proposal?
So to make sure I'm understanding you correctly, you want to make sure that you understand exactly how you're going to present this to your employees moving forward. Is that correct?
That is correct. I want to know, not the employees, I want to know what your proposal is, for us to implement Citrix in lieu of what we plan on doing anyway.
Sure
right?
thing.
So we have a plan to solve these problems. I hear you have a better plan.
Exactly right. And the way I like to think about this is the solution we're going to implement is happiness, because that is exactly what Citrix does. It creates happiness, efficiency, and productivity. So exactly my proposal is going to be this. I recommend that we move forward and we get those 10 account managers that Brian told me were in China. Is that correct? You have about 10?
That is correct.
I recommend we get those 10 account managers and we start off with half of the employees. So we have a testing pool to start off with. Now, I want to make sure that this business relationship continues on, this Guanzi. I want to make sure this relationship can continue no matter what. And I don't want to just implement this, I want to make sure this is a right fit for you. So by starting off with your key account managers who have the most experience in their field and a testing pool of your employees, we can see exactly the benefits of Citrix as compared to your old experience, the experience you're currently using right now. So we can look at the variances and the differences that are going on, and you can look exactly at how many cost-saving benefits we can provide for you. Does that sound like a good idea to you?
Continue.
Yes. So moving forward, I think we should do that to the 10 account managers. Now, that's in Beijing, and I understand that Aerotech is worldwide. So I would recommend that we allow your Citrix employees in the US, we allow for your key account managers to be able to handle those operations. And so we allow them to give them Citrix so that they're the first movers in this area and they can directly lead their team by using this product moving forward. Okay. How does that sound to you?
It seems reasonable.
Great. So Tim, I'm loving everything we're talking about. Shin, I think we can agree that this is going to be an amazing benefit to your employees moving forward in China in this project that you're managing, and that Aerotech can greatly succeed moving forward in this expansion.
Okay.
What do you say to moving forward and making Citrix a solution for your company and a great happiness for your employees?
Do you have anything else? So are you comfortable with the investment that we're going to be making in China?
Jeju Kuma.
Okay. So I think the outline of your plan makes sense.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a big project for Aerotech, and we're going to spend a lot of money.
Of course.
Usually, when we receive a proposal, I mean, not usually, but all the time, we also see incentives or discounts. And all I've seen so far is the frontline pricing. I think it's $310. And so, in China, we have a budget, we're doing a rollout, we're not generating revenue. So what type of discounts can you give us to make it more feasible?
So if we understand you correctly, we're trying to understand exactly how we can provide you incentives and discounts moving forward with this large expansion that you're moving into.
Yeah, we essentially want to take that 310 and we want to get it lower.
Okay.
We want to see if we can get the per user cost a little bit lower.
And that's a great idea. And that is one of the many things we do when we deal with large operations such as this. We provide many incentives for our customers. Now, to give you the price down, you are exactly correct. It comes down to $310 a user, which comes down to less than 85 cents a day, less than $1 a day to implement this solution to every employee that you have. Now, we mentioned we would like to get this started with your 20 key account managers and your 10 account managers in China. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we're looking at 30 employees with a cost of $310. We're looking at $9,300 to implement this on a starting basis. And that could save you an average of $100,000 while increasing your revenue by over $2 million on average.
Correct.
Now, in terms of the incentives, we do provide many incentives, and we'll look more into that. I just want to make sure that citrus is going to be a viable solution for you first. I want to make sure that your success is just like the other 7 Fortune 100 companies in China, and that we're able to move this forward. As I mentioned before, I want to make sure you're comfortable before we get this rolling on a large-scale basis, because this is a relationship, a guanxi that I want to be able to maintain and move forward.